Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. I've just spent an entire night playing a lot of classic Super Nintendo games I've never really played before. I'm looking into stuff like Soul Blazer, never played that before, played some Ogre Battle. Which one is it? Ogre Battle 3, Maiden of... what the fuck even is it? I have no idea. I loved it. I thought it was great, and I will come back to it in the future. There were a lot of games that I did want to play on it. Most of them I have played before, but there are a handful of them that I am looking into giving a shot at least. Illusion of Gaia, I think, is going to be the one after Soul Blazer. I want to try, a lot of Legend of the Mystical Ninja. There are a handful of classic Super Nintendo games that I have not played through all the way yet. There are a lot of good ones. Played some Sparkster. I'm really into them. But one of the things I've noticed going through the Super Nintendo library, and one of the things that people don't want to talk about, is just how much of the library is pure shit. There are a lot of games on Super Nintendo that are just not very good at all. And of course, if you're a fan, you're just going to ignore them and just play the good stuff, right? And that's how I look at it, right? I have several, I don't want to say hundreds. I have lots of games that I want to play on the console. I don't really have any interest in just paying attention or caring about the bad games, right? The bad games exist, but in a general sense, you won't be playing them, right? If you're going by word of mouth, if you're talking to other people, if you're reading Nintendo Power, if you're up to date on, developers, what to look out for, who's making the good games, it's not really a problem, right? Bad games don't ruin a console. When I compare my view on this, my view on Super Nintendo, my all-time favorite game, one of my all-time favorite consoles, right? I find it odd how so many people try and dismantle the Wii for having shovelware. Try to attack the Wii for having shovelware, because the Wii, in a lot of ways, has just as many unique and interesting games as the Super Nintendo. There are a lot of games on the Wii that I would put on par with a lot of these Super Nintendo classics. I noticed recently while I was playing through Little King Story again, just how similar it was. Not exactly similar, just how someone who enjoyed ActRaiser, for example, could really get into Little King Story. I think Little King Story has a little bit more in common with ActRaiser than you might expect at first glance, considering the game. They're both about building up a kingdom and sort of fighting these enemies and doing all these things. They're radically different in execution, but if you like one, if you really appreciate one for its creativity and its variety, you're going to appreciate the other, right? I don't care about games that aren't bad, that are bad, right? That doesn't diminish from the games that I enjoy, right? There are always, on every single Nintendo console, there are all these games that are absolutely worth playing, and yet somehow, for some reason, you're always going to have these degenerates, these pretendos, coming out and trying to dismiss these entire consoles because, I like the Super Nintendo more, or I like the GameCube more, or I like the Wii U more. You keep seeing all these people, try and say that, their preferred thing is somehow better than what we're getting now, which isn't really the case, honestly. Going back and playing the Super Nintendo game, the Super Nintendo, yeah, there are a lot of games I like on it. Yeah, there are a lot of things I really appreciate it, but there are things in newer consoles, especially the N64, that did certain things better. 3D gaming, I think, is the obvious example. Multiplayer gaming, first-person shooters. There are lots of examples of genres and franchises that significantly evolved with the N64, and in a fashion that makes it very difficult for me to imagine that anyone who is criticizing the N64 for not having games is doing so in good faith, right? These are PlayStation fans trying to downplay the newest Nintendo console. That's all there is to it. It has nothing to do with the actual console and its library of games, because there are plenty of things that it does that are just fantastic. entirely motivated by fanboyism. It's entirely motivated by ignorance. It's entirely motivated by a desire to see this product fail. And it's just, it's really pathetic and sad. It really is. The Wii was a fantastic console. The Super Nintendo was a fantastic console. Nintendo has put out nothing but hits ever since it first entered the video game market. And I cannot wait to see what they put out next.